She came in at midnight like the hallway belonged to her, and I was a renter who'd overstayed the lease. Heels on marble, the kind of perfume that announces a budget meeting before you're in the room, and a new diamond bracelet that threw light around the entry like a small lighthouse. I looked at the clasp and the engraving and did the math. I hadn't seen the expense, hadn't heard the story, hadn't been invited to the story. Closed reception, she said, sliding the bracelet higher up her wrist. For who? Partners. She set her clutch on the console and didn't look at me. The kind of night where you network up, not sideways. You didn't say where you were going. Because you don't fit that room. She finally gave me a glance, cool and quick. People like you don't. Be practical. People like me? You're useful at home, she continued, kicking off one heel and then the other. Schedules, errands, whatever. But in my world, you're a mismatch. You get literal about trucks and ships. We talk vision. Uh-huh. Don't take it personally, Nathan. You're a good man. Just simple. A good worker bee. Simple. I rested a hand on the console. That new bracelet part of this vision? Recognition. She tipped her chin, letting the stones catch the pendant light. And a reminder to step into the circles I earned. Don't wait up next time. Then she gave me the head tilt I used to think meant affection. Tonight it looked like a door closing. If I'd known where it was headed, I'd have started packing that second. She turned toward the bedroom. I let her go, and I put a small line through the marriage in my head, not with a pen, but with the kind of decision that changes calendars and locks. The next morning I made coffee, sent 3 logistics emails, and stared at the skyline. When she came out, hair in a perfect sweep, she tested the water. You seem quiet. You drew the map? I told her. I'm just following it. Don't sulk. She poured sparkling water into a flute. There's a family dinner Friday. The Gilded Swan. Private room. Father, a few associates. Please don't talk routes. I'll manage. I rinsed my cup. Don't worry, I'll bring crayons. She didn't laugh. Dress well. Listen more than you speak. I usually do, I said. I'll try a little less. As she left, I opened a blank document and started a list. Not for revenge. For clarity. Friday came fast, like a meeting you hoped would cancel. The restaurant was the kind with gold trim around everything and waiters who glide. Her father, Richard, was there in a dark suit, thicker around the middle than last year, loud in the way people are when they think silence is a weakness. He gave me a once-over that said he'd been practicing a speech. We'll keep it brief, he declared, snapping a menu closed. Big week ahead. You always have one, I answered, pulling back my chair. A pair of men from the board sat on the left, careful with their napkins. Celeste arrived last, late enough to be a headline, wearing a dress designed to be photographed. The bracelet was back. Of course it was. Everyone, she said, touching the chair before sitting. Thank you for rearranging your schedules. Let's make it worthwhile. To growth, one of the board men added, raising a glass. To strategy, Richard corrected. To logistics, I threw in deadpan. A few eyes cut my direction. I let it hang. The waiter asked about starters. While he spoke, Celeste slid a look over the table and then to me, like I was an employee who needed a side talk. Nathan, she said, with that soft voice people use to make a blade feel like silk. Tonight is about relationships. Please don't bring up trucks, margins, or ports. Let the conversation breathe. Wouldn't dream of suffocating it. Richard leaned in. Son, you've been helpful with operations. We all appreciate that. But when we sit with investors, we're painting pictures. It's not the place for technical commentary. I'll keep the crayons in my pocket, I replied. The board guy on the left covered a smile with a cough. Celeste lowered her napkin, eyes flat. Let's be clear. You don't match the room. You're not my +1 for events like last night. I need clean lines, not noise. Noise, I repeated. Is that a corporate term now? It's a reality term. She leaned closer like she was sharing a secret with the group. He's great for home operations. Bills, schedules, school drop-offs. But when you're building a brand, careful, the board man murmured, halfway warning, halfway entertained. You don't drag along the guy who still thinks value is delivered in a container. She lifted her glass. We all grow. Some faster. Richard cleared his throat. Let's keep it civil. I set my napkin down, precise. The waiter appeared with bread. The room felt clean, like a lab, and that helped. I slid my wedding ring off and set it on the white linen. No noise. No throw. I just placed it, centered, like a measure taken. Richard blinked. One bored man leaned back. The other watched me like I'd said we hit a reef. Celeste stared at the ring and then at me, expecting a plea, a speech, a scene. What she got was my chair moving back in one smooth line and me standing. Are you? She caught herself. You said I don't fit the room, I told her. I agree. I nodded to the table. Enjoy the painting. I walked out past the host's stand, through the lobby with the big chandelier. I didn't check my phone until I hit the street. Downtown was loud in a way that makes you think straight. On the corner, I called a guy I knew from an old client, a corporate attorney named Grant Lawson. Efficient, dry, the kind who reads term sheets like the morning paper. Grant, I said, I need a consult. Family and business combined. No theatrics. I have time Monday morning, he said. Loop office. Packet rooms free at 9. I'll be there. I texted a broker I trusted about short-term rentals. Wicker Park, small loft, quiet building. Today, he sent 3 options. I picked the second. Clean floors, decent light, no piano. I booked it for a month and started a second list. Utilities, small fridge, 2 sets of sheets, basic cookware, and privacy. By the time I reached the building, my phone was already getting the first apology ping. Overstepped, Celeste wrote. Let's discuss tomorrow. I typed back. No discussion, only decisions. Then I turned the phone face down and went upstairs to pack. No big suitcase. 2 medium cases, 1 rolling bin for files. I labeled binders by port and year. When I closed the second case, I heard the door. Nathan. She stepped in, saw the cases, and processed the shape of things. You're being dramatic. No, I'm being clear. We had a tense dinner. That doesn't mean. You drew the line. I just quit pretending it's not there. She tried a different tone. Come on. I misspoke. It's late. Sleep on it, and let's reset. Reset what? Your father's script. I shut the bin and locked it. I'll send a courier for the rest. You're really walking out because your pride got bumped at dinner? Her voice tightened. I'm leaving because respect ended in our hallway. The dinner just helped me set the time. She stared, gauging if a softer move would work. I'm sorry, she said, measured. I was unkind. I don't want to hurt you. I shrugged into my jacket. You didn't hurt me. You clarified me. I wheeled the first case out. I'll have my attorney contact yours. Nathan, we don't need attorneys. We need boundaries, I replied. Attorneys help with those. I closed the door behind me and left the ring on her table where she'd find it again in the morning. Monday, I sat in Grant's packet room, a windowless box with a long table and a scanner that looked expensive. He walked in with a legal pad and the expression of a man who listened for sport. You're early, he said. Good sign. I'm done being late to my own life. Tell me facts. No prenup. I slid a folder across. I've been running operations for Stratmore Logistics for years without the title. Routes, port relationships, distributor contracts, retention plans for 3 key accounts. I can prove it without blowing up confidentiality. That last part's art, he remarked, opening the folder. Names, dates, deliverables. I have port manifest improvements year over year. I passed him a set of charts. New contracts I brought in because I sat on a loading dock and drank bad coffee until the right foreman talked. Client retention numbers I coached through. Her father handled the front, panels, interviews, events. I ran the engine room. Compensation, base, and a small bonus. No equity. He scribbled. Children. 1. Sophia. 14. Smart. Not a project. She's a person. Good. He flipped a page. What do you want? Not revenge, I said. Not a campaign. I want what's fair by law, and I want my name separated from their stage. And I want stability for my daughter that doesn't bend with a lecture. He nodded, satisfied I wasn't going to become a headline. We'll ask for a meaningful share based on contribution. And we'll establish custody on the merits. You're the primary day-to-day. Correct. He pulled out a calendar. We'll need emails, drafts, your notes, anything with timestamps. Keep originals. Make copies. Don't embellish. Don't explain. Let the documents speak. I already sorted by year. Of course you did. He gave me half a smile. We'll also plan for them to minimize you and to accelerate. Expect pressure and charm. Charm. She'll try to close quick, he said. It's common. They want to get out of discovery before substance lands. He wasn't wrong. That afternoon, I got a call from Richard. He didn't ease into it. "You think you're owed a piece of my company?" he demanded. "I think I'm owed recognition for the work I did," I answered. "And stability for my kid." "You were staff. I was operations, Richard. While you did panels, I kept ships from sitting. You remember Singapore last year? Who got us the slot?" He grunted. "You did your job. I did your job where it mattered. You walk away from my daughter and come for my assets? Don't. I walked away from a setup where I was a prop. Now I'm placing things on the record." He lowered his voice like he could make me smaller with tone. "You're going to regret this." "Doubt it." I kept mine level. "Email your attorney. Grant Lawson is mine." He hung up with a laugh. He meant to sound confident. It sounded winded. That night, in the Wicker Park loft with the little view of a brick wall and a square of sky, I lined files across the table and labeled them like a man sorting his own past. My phone buzzed with a number I knew. Celeste. I let it go to voicemail. Then a text. "I shouldn't have said those things. Let's fix it quietly. Dinner tomorrow." I typed back. "I'll meet at Lawson's office. Packet room. Bring your counsel." "You're being cold," she wrote. "I'm being organized." She sent one last message. "If you push, you'll hurt Sophia." I stared at that one for a full minute. Then I wrote, "Don't drag her into your strategy. She's human." I put the phone face down and went back to the work. In the morning, Sophia called from the penthouse. "Mom's packing your books," she said, trying to sound neutral and landing on angry. "She put your framed photos in a storage box." "Thanks for the intel," I answered. "How are you?" "I'm tired of being told what I should think." She paused. "Can I stay with you tonight?" "I'll get you set up," I told her. "There's a coffee shop downstairs we won't overuse. Quiet building. Clean floors. I'll be there at 5. "I want normal," she said. "Do you have that?" "I'm building it." "Okay." She exhaled. "See you at 5. I cleaned the second bedroom like it was an exam, set up a desk, put a soft lamp in the corner. When she arrived, we didn't say much. We ate simple takeout and watched a silly show and didn't mention anyone else. Around 9, she asked one more. "Are you going to fight, Mom?" "No. I'm going to set rules," I replied. "Adults do better with those." She nodded, relieved. "Good." 2 days later, the packet room lived up to its name. Manila folders, legal pads, bottles of water lined like runway lights. Celeste arrived in a suit that said untouchable, with a lawyer who tried to look relaxed and overdid it. Grant sat across from them, sleeves rolled up, calm as weather. "We want to be efficient," her lawyer began. "No need to drag anyone." "Efficiency depends on truth," Grant said. "Let's exchange lists." I slid mine over. Contracts, email threads, timelines. Port contacts under initials, not full names. It was all there without a single embellished adjective. Celeste flipped through without touching the edges, like paper could stain her. "These prove nothing," her counsel said, but lighter than he wanted. "They prove contribution," Grant replied. "And responsibility." He wasn't a +1 at home. He was the engine at work. Celeste kept her eyes on a page. "We're prepared to offer an amicable split," she said slowly. "No property. Standard schedule with Sophia." "Not acceptable," I cut in. "No schedule that treats my kid like a shuttle." "We can do generous support," she added, voice turning, sweet on the edges. "Nathan, I know you. You like your routines. This way, life stays simple." Life got simple the day you called me simple. Now it's just honest. From there, the lawyer talk hummed. Grant made a point. Her counsel tried to frame it. I closed it with a fact. At one point, Celeste switched tactics. She reached for my water, set it closer, and gave me a small, almost apologetic smile. "Nate, you and I know this got heated," she said. "Let's be adults. Let's end it fast." "We are ending it fast," I told her. "By documenting." Her eyes cooled an inch. "Do you want to make me your enemy?" "I want to make this accurate." We broke at noon. As I stood, she touched my sleeve. "Lunch. We can reset. I don't eat negotiation. Just a sandwich." She tried to laugh. "We used to be good at that. We used to be good at a lot of things we forgot on purpose." I pulled my arm back slow. "I'll be in at 1. I went out to the hallway and called a port superintendent in Oakland who owed me a favor and a story. He sent a note verifying something we both knew. A reslot last year we secured because I called at 3 in the morning and asked the right guy the right way. The note was neutral and factual. Perfect. I printed it and slid it into the stack. When I returned, Celeste glanced at the page and then at me with calculation. The smile was gone. We can keep this quiet, her lawyer said, now more serious. If he agrees to limit claims to personal effects. Those aren't the facts, Grant replied. Stop trying to make them the deal. The afternoon ended with no final papers, just position. As we packed, her phone buzzed nonstop. When she answered, she turned away. Even so, I caught pieces. I have it under control, she told whoever was on the line. No, the optics are fine. Yes, the board is aligned. She hung up and forced brightness. We'll circulate drafts. Send them to Lawson, I said. I'll review. In the elevator, the doors closed on her face, perfect and set, and on my decision to end what was left before it ended me. That night, Richard called again. He tried a different lever. You take my granddaughter out of my house, you'll regret it, he said. She isn't a decoration, I replied. She's a person. She chooses. If you want to say, earn it. You ungrateful. I was chief of operations in everything but email signature. I cut in. While you chased cameras, I chased containers. I'm not ungrateful. I'm done. He cursed under his breath and hung up. I wrote the time of the call on a sticky note and put it in a folder marked pressures. Not for theater. For record. The next morning, I found a casserole outside my loft door, covered in foil with a note. Home deserves warmth. See. Sophia read it and made a face. She's trying to nice her way back in. People use different tools, I said. You're not going to eat that, right? I'm not hungry for that, I answered. I set the casserole in the fridge and we left for school. When the hearing date came, it wasn't a circus. It was paperwork, a short room, a person in a robe who didn't care about our story, only about rules. Celeste sat on one side, immaculate. I sat on the other, steady. Grant said what mattered and only that. Her counsel tried to frame me as a domestic routine guy who liked schedules and smallness. I didn't react. The documents walked when they needed to. In the end, I didn't get a share of the company. Fine. The law did what the law does. But on stability, the decision went with me. Full custody. Support to match. Not because anyone loved me more, but because calendars and proof spoke louder than speeches. Celeste kept her face steady, but her knuckles went white for a second. The bracelet didn't help with that. When we left, she caught up with me by the elevator bank. This is not you, she said, careful and soft like we were in a church. You don't do this. I do now. You're punishing me. I'm protecting my kid. You're going to cost me in public. You cost me in peace. She angled her chin. We can still fix it. We just did. I answered, stepping into the elevator as the doors opened. We chose a clear life. 2 days later, the press started doing what it does when a story smells like image management. Former employees, some I hadn't seen in years, leaked documents. Not my doing. They sent old strategy memos with my initials on them, port coordination timelines, client retention plans I drafted at 2 a.m. A blog ran a piece, then a business column. None of it used words like scandal. It just posted receipts. Investors don't like confusion. They started asking questions in numbers. A key manager left. Then another. The board called an emergency session. By the end of the week, Celeste had a title without power. By the end of the month, the office went dark like a storefront after hours. She put out a short statement about transitions and mindfulness and new horizons. It read like a bandage on a pipe burst. I didn't dunk. I didn't comment. When a reporter called asking for a quote, I replied, no comment. My focus is Sophia. That's all. The rest took care of itself because facts are quiet and you can hear them if you turn down the music. Do you feel bad? Sophia asked one evening, curled on the chair with a book, the lamp soft. About what? About her losing all that. I feel clear, I said. Clarity isn't joy. It's just clean. She nodded. I like clean. So do I. 2 weeks later, Celeste knocked on our door. No driver, no hanger-on, no expensive noise. She held a small bag and nothing else. No bracelet. No crowd. Can we talk? She asked. Her eyes darted past me like she expected marble and found wood. Just 5 minutes. I didn't answer right away. Sophia stood at the end of the hall. She didn't smile. Please, Celeste added. I've had some time to think. I want to rebuild. For Sophia. For Sophia? I echoed. The way you mirror a tactic so it's obvious. You left a casserole. Now you want the kitchen. Nathan, you didn't just walk away from me, I told her. You walked away from her when it didn't suit the room. She remembers that. I was under pressure. Everyone is. I kept my voice even. Here's how this works. We keep the schedule the court ordered. We keep our communication on email. We keep the door closed unless it's pick up or drop off. That's adult, and that's final. This is your pride talking. No, this is my boundary talking. I'm asking for a chance. Your chance was in a hallway and in a restaurant. I glanced at Sophia. She whispered, barely audible. Please don't let her in. I'm at Celeste's eyes. You hear that? I asked. That's the only board I answer to. She blinked, waiting for a softening that didn't arrive. I stepped back half a step, not to invite her in, but to claim the space as mine. Nathan, you had a world, I told her. You decided who fit. This doesn't run that way. We're good here. Goodbye, Celeste. She looked smaller than I remembered and angrier than she wanted to show. For a second, she almost said something sharp. Then she didn't. I closed the door. It sounded like a period. Inside, Sophia leaned her head back against the wall. Thanks, she said. We're steady, I answered. That's the prize. She gave me a look that said she believed it for the first time. We ordered dinner that didn't try to solve anything. We ate. We did dishes. Normal is a luxury when you can afford it, and you afford it by not spending on chaos. Life settled into a new cadence. Mornings were simple. School drop-off on time. Work in a quiet room with a clear desk. I had contacts who respected what I did and didn't care about anyone's ribbon cutting. An independent logistics firm from the suburbs reached out. They'd seen the articles. Their CEO, a practical woman named Tessa Lang, asked if I had interest in advising on route efficiency and client retention. Some people like speeches, she said over coffee. I like containers that arrive. I like those too. Part-time to start, she offered. We can talk more if it fits. It fits. Tessa wasn't a headline person. She wore a watch that told the time and asked questions that mattered. We stayed in the numbers. Then, after a few meetings, we drifted a little wider. A shared joke about a supplier. A story about a disastrous trade show. One Friday, she said, you seem like someone who only has two modes, calm and done. Those work for me. They work for me too, she said. Dinner. We went to a place with a brick wall and a decent salad. No gold trim. Conversation was easy because nobody was auditioning. She asked about Sophia. I asked about her team. No speeches. People have a talent for making it complicated, Tessa said. I like simple disciplines. Me too, I replied. They hold when other things don't. We didn't rush anything. No labels. Just two people who respected the same kind of quiet. It felt like a room where you don't have to prove you deserve the chair you're already sitting in. At home, Sophia's grades lifted. She stopped flinching at her phone. She asked if she could try a weekend class in design. I said yes and drove her on Saturday mornings. Coffee in the cup holder, windows clear. We talked about colors and functions, not about anybody's title. When she came home, she filled the small table with sketches. She didn't ask permission to take up space. That's how you know something worked. Occasionally, we would hear a piece of news about the old world. The building downtown shuttered, the sign unlit. A short item about a board reorganization that had no real numbers in it. Someone sent me a link to a photo of Richard looking 10 years older than his suit allowed. Do you look at it? Sophia asked. I don't chase it, I said. If it shows up, I note it. Then I go back to our calendar. Celeste kept to the schedule. No more casseroles. No more proposals. A few stiff emails about drop-off times and school events. Once, she tried to switch weekends because of a major opportunity. No, I wrote back. Sophia has plans. That's a major opportunity. Please be flexible, she replied. I am. With our lives. Not with your optics. She didn't like it. She complied. That's adulthood. It's not about who wins the talk. It's about who holds the plan. Tessa met Sophia after a month of nothing fancy. They talked about a plant on the windowsill and how to keep it alive. No posturing. Later, Sophia told me, she's normal, and it was the highest praise in the catalog. On a Sunday, we drove out by the river and walked without needing to fill the air. Tessa pointed at a warehouse and asked what I'd do to fix the staging problem you could see from the road. 2 lanes, I said. Assign time windows. Don't let the trucks play musical chairs. Exactly, she said, grinning. It's obvious if you've ever been there at dawn. Which is when the work's done. We kept it that easy. Occasionally, someone from the old circle would message, fishing for a quote or an ally. You must feel vindicated, they'd write. I'd delete it. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt like a man who moved a box from clutter to storage and can now find his keys. At school meetings, teachers didn't look at me like I was visiting. They looked at me like I lived there. I did. That matters. A few months out, Celeste asked to talk before a handoff in the building lobby. The lobby had a fake plant and a bench that wobbled. I want to make amends, she said, setting a small gift bag on the bench and keeping her hands folded like the right pose could sell the pitch. I've been in therapy. I see my part. I'm glad, I said. Keep going. We could. There isn't a we, I answered, gentle because we were in public and Sophia was 5 paces away. There are schedules. There's a teenager who needs boring consistency. Stick to that. You're hard. I'm clear. She looked away and nodded like a person agreeing with something they didn't order. I'm getting a smaller place, she said. Closer to the lake. I had to adjust. Adjusting is good, I replied. That's grown up. She handed me the gift bag. For Sophia. She'll open it at home, I said. Thanks. Upstairs, Sophia pulled out a small notebook and a set of pens. I'll use them, she said, practical. Then she added, almost shy. I don't miss the old house. You miss any of it? Not the echo. She clicked a pen. Not the talking for show. We made pancakes and laughed because I forgot to put oil in the pan. Small disasters are where families actually happen. A week later, Tessa and I took Sophia to a weekend market with bad parking and good bread. No one cared who we were. That's the luxury money never realized it couldn't buy. On the drive home, the radio played something we didn't hate. We didn't talk over it. That's my favorite sound. I still run routes in my head. Not because I can't let go, but because it's how I'm wired. The difference is now my life schedule matches my respect for myself. No door I stand at decides my worth. If a room doesn't fit, I don't try to squeeze in. I build my own room and set out exactly 2 chairs. One night, late, the door buzzer rang again. I checked the camera and saw no one. Probably a random mistake. I went back to the table where Sophia was finishing an assignment and Tessa was reading an article about supply lanes. The plant by the window looked healthy. The bracelet never shows up in my head anymore. The sound of heels on marble got replaced by the sound of a pencil on paper and a pot on the stove. Dad, Sophia said without looking up. You think we could get a small dog? We can talk criteria, I replied. We're not adopting chaos. Tessa laughed. He's not wrong. Sophia smirked. Okay, I'll draft a plan. There's my kid, I said. We didn't toast to anything. We didn't need to. We had the one thing you can't stage. We had a life that didn't require additions. So if you're asking me whether I won, you're using the wrong verb. Winning is for games. This was a correction. The day she told me I didn't fit, she gave me permission to stop trying. I took it. I paid for it in documentation and quiet and a door closing. The return has been steady and compounding. That's better than any speech. As for her, last I heard, she traded the penthouse for an address that doesn't have a doorman. The meetings stopped needing her face like they used to. The phone calls got shorter. Debts aren't always numbers. Sometimes they're the space between who you said you were and who you are when a hallway is just a hallway. That space got expensive. I don't wish her pain. I wish her clarity. We got ours. That's the finish line. And it's the only one that matters.